Hey, it's been a long time coming. It's me, Mr. Cinema Junkie. I am in Chicago again at Mad Mobster, the True Crime and Horror Convention. I was only going to attend Saturday. And then when I went to register, this very nice person, who I'm sure I'll make his acquaintance later, upgraded me to an all-weekend pass. So it's Friday night. I was just going to hang out in the room, but instead I'm going to go down and check out the festivities now. And you will be there as well.
Side, that's Wesley Sherman from San Quentin State Prison.
Give it a big hello all the way.
Hey!
No, Charlotte's on the other side of the room. Yeah, it's like every day. They call and.
Wait, are these originals?
Yes. Yeah, I walked away now. So. How's it going?
They average. I've seen them go before. I hold them out they sell for, it's just sad.
It is really sad. It is really sad to know about that. And all the stories that John has told me about the trials and about what people have said about her and all the things that she went through. Actually, Eileen introduced Dawn to the man that she married and has been married to her whole life in high school.
Look up and he goes, we're going to use the front of you anyway. He says, don't worry about it. I never reshot. But it was a great thing. We're going to use the front of you anyway, so I saved that. I was lucky. I thought it cost millions.
Naked, I said, yes, if I can sing O Holy Night, because they were in the choir together, and that was John's solo in the choir. And, and so when I sang it, I can't tell you, it was almost like channeling him at that moment. I mean, and I don't mean to sound, spiritual or something like that, but John liked living again, if that makes any sense. Just bringing it all back to life again was just sort of something that just, brought this energy about, I love Barry for what he did, and Barry's as much of a victim as anybody else in the story, Every person who woke up and realized who he was a victim.
Bookie yellow crap because he was taking what they call it, that you clean the body with, and he was sprinkling them so that the stuff would heat it up,
But this particular time, Barry is talking about he went over to John's house to speak to him, and this was a time when Barry feared that John was going to kill him.
Yes. So we got in the house, and I sat right in the living room. How did I know there was a cemetery down below? And we talked and we reminisced. Of course, by this time, Johnny's much heavier. I'm still a little thin, but not so much today that I was then. And finally, he said, would you do me a favor? What? Would you try these handcuffs on? And right at that point, I had something hit me inside. But now remember, I haven't made the connection. He's telling me about trying them on. He's not going to say he's going to murder me, but he is going to kill me. But we don't know that yet. So I said, will you do me a favor, John? Would you give me a glass of water, please? So when he went in the kitchen, I grabbed my dad's keys. And I started to go out of his house, and I wasn't watching. And I run into a big wall, and I fall on the floor. And I look back, but now Johnny doesn't know I left him. So I get back up, and then he comes outside. Don't leave me. Don't leave my side.
Not as of yet. Talking about possibly coming back. I'd love to come back as the character one last time. I never wanted to quit. I was just replaced unceremoniously for no apparent reason. And I think it would be cool to bring me back as Jason and then bring back some of the survivors from previous movies. Tina.
You couldn't take it.
I'm still gonna kill all you.
I'd like to do Friday the 13th, Part 7, Volume 2.
Nice.
I'd like to see Corey Feldman come back, and just he and I have become friends at conventions, and I think that would be fun. You know, as a horror fan, I think I'd like to see that. Some of the previous characters come back and let me fucking kill all of them.
Now, we talked a little bit about Mad Monster Phoenix, but you know, you were a big proponent for a number of years, or you were big on the idea of having Freddy versus Jason. So what was that like when they went an entirely different direction with someone who was clearly it didn't turn out the same way as if you had been in the part?
Anybody seen Holliston? Whenever Adam Green's sitcom, I played myself in it, and anytime anyone mentioned Freddy versus Jason, I started twitching and tried to kill myself. So I was finally, after so many years, able to make light of it. But it was it's still a very sore memory that, I wasn't even really given a reason. I thought I was going to do it. I was given the script. I had a meeting with the executive, the New Line. She gave me the script, says we're finally doing this. Then they started hiring more crew, including a director, and suddenly I was getting weird feelings in talking to them, and I realized that they had chosen somebody else to play the part for, basically what I think was the decision was made because someone thought it doesn't matter who's in the mask, you can't tell. So, but I think that's ultimately what it was, and once there was some backlash from the fans that were supporting me, which I really appreciated, then they started, making up excuses. Well, we wanted a guy that's taller, so they got a guy that's an inch taller. I don't know if that reads that much on camera. We wanted a guy with more sympathetic eyes. I've heard that one, and my first thing is, Jason has one fucking eye. And people always said that I had sympathetic, expressive eyes, so I don't know if that was even a legitimate thing. And, they did hire somebody who was local to where they were shooting the film, which means they didn't have to put him up or give him per diem or give, but so I don't know if that had anything to do with it. But,
Actors never know. Actors, we're so lucky if we get to do something we really love doing, and then we're a million times luckier if we get to come out and enjoy it with people that enjoyed it.
Here I am, and it's day 2 of the Mad Mobster True Crime and Horror Convention. Saying that all in one breath is a real strain. And speaking of breath, I nearly lose mine every time I walk out of this hotel because it is freezing. This is not the ideal time to come to Chicago, let me tell you. I think they're talking about a high of like 20, which isn't so bad, but when you factor in the fact that we're real close to the lake and the wind, it can drop down to about 2 degrees. And tonight's low is like 8, so we're talking maybe a wind chill of minus 17. It freezes the liquid in your lungs, dude. I'm bronchial. You can't be doing that to me. But anyways, here's day 2, and let's see what today brings, shall we?
Confession scene word for word from his confession. So I'm like, it's not believable, that's what he said, you dumbass. But, it was really interesting to play a character that existed and try to do some of the things that, recreate some of the things. That was more the case in BTK.
Do you feel there's more pressure to it, portraying?
Well, I guess maybe in a way there is, but at the same time, it's not like the person is going to be able to, give you any shit about it because they're currently incarcerated.
Don't be so sure.
True. I actually would find it fascinating to go visit Dennis Rader. He's still in prison, hasn't been dispatched as far as I know yet. So I think it'd be interesting and who knows? I don't even know if he knows that I played him in a movie. He may have hated how I did it, or he may have liked it. I don't know. But it'd be interesting to talk to the guy.
Your research and preparation for playing Ed, I was just curious as to how different in style it was from Kane's approach.
Well, can anybody hear me? I guess you can. I can't hear myself. That's my life, though.
So do we.
I just wanted to do a character study, and it was originally brought to me as a slasher film, and I said no. But if you want to do a character study, that I'd be interested. It's as factual as you can get, I think. My thing is, if in any character, preparation is the most important thing you can do. Prep is something I love. I not only read the 5 books about it, but I also, there's a book called DSM-3 and DSM-4, which psychiatrists have, and we're all in it.
Can you sort of talk a little bit about the day, you know, the events that led up to the tragic shooting?
Yeah, well, I mean, there wasn't really much to tell. I mean, I certainly didn't know anything like that was going to happen. You know, the first thing anyone asked me when they find out that I was involved is did I know them? And the answer is no, I didn't know them at all. I've seen them around a few times. Didn't even know their names or anything. It was just pretty random as far as I could tell. And you know, some people there's still kind of this myth out there that everyone that was shot, was like bullying them, which I think they were bullied just, you know, by some people to some degree, but I didn't bully them, and I know a couple other people that were shot and paralyzed, same as I was, and I know they didn't do anything either, so they were just, you know, I don't know what they were trying to do. But.
Now, what grade were you in when this?
I was junior.
And I apologize, I'm trying to, you know, feel my way through and what I'm saying it myself.
Right.
What was going through your mind, you know, when everything, at the very start of everything, like what was your first instinct or first thought?
Well, honestly, the first thing, you know, they threw these like homemade pipe bombs, which were supposed to be bombs. They didn't do much of anything, but I honestly thought for just like the first couple of seconds when I saw that, it was just some kind of, you know, high school year into the prank or something. I didn't know they were like seriously gonna open fire. That was the last thing I was expecting.
Do you have any thoughts? Because you hear that a lot, where, you know, a tragedy occurs, and one of the things that people like to do is like, oh, it has to do with this music or that music. Do you think there's any correlation between any of that, or is it as kind of silly as it sounds?
I mean, I don't agree with it. I mean, I listen to a lot of, you know, heavier music, and I play violent video games too, and I'm not violent at all, but you know, I like you know, playing as a, you know, a fictional thing. But yeah, I think one of the causes of that no one seems to want to talk about, especially like the media, is a lot of these shooters seem to be on, like, you know, antidepressants and stuff, like they were on Luvox, and I think that totally warps people's brains. But the media, you know, they make all the money from that stuff, so they don't tend to talk about that. But I think has probably, you know, a lot to do with it.
I feel almost sad saying this. Jason Miller had done far too much drinking, and Laddie didn't think he could handle it anymore. Although he's an incredible actor, but he just had, his brain was a little shot at that point. Alcohol can affect your brain after a while. It kills enough brain cells that you really can't remember things, and so that's where he was at that point. So he cast me, and he was like, I mean, he was into every single line. So he was like working with me, and then I did this, I was working with George C. Scott, and the first thing went very well. The second one, he'd over-rehearsed me, and it was, they made me look at my my outtakes of that, and it was the most boring thing you'd ever seen in your life. Every line was considered and framed in gold, and just awful. And they made me reshoot it. And I think George came up to me and said, "This guy's got you totally fucked up. You know, just, you know, pick a couple of things that are important and throw the rest away." And I just went, duh. And then it flew. And then they did a demographic study. And they said, no, we have to have Jason Miller do it. So they cut me out of the movie. And then they brought Jason Miller in, and he couldn't do it. So then they brought me back in, and I had to reshoot the whole thing, because the background was now different. And that's the name of that tune.